Lightning flashed across the stormy evening sky as Elsa Harrington, 7 months pregnant, stood trembling at the tall windows of her palatial home. Inside the cavernous living room, her husband, dashing millionaire William Harrington, was down on one knee, but not before his pregnant wife. Instead, he clutched the hand of a mysterious beauty named Ariana Caldwell, whispering words Elsa was never meant to hear. Elsa's heart pounded like thunder in her chest as she fought back tears. She had sacrificed everything, her dreams, her independence, her sense of self, to stand by William's side. Now, shattered by betrayal, she would soon learn a shocking truth that would change everything. Elsa Harrington was born with a bright spirit and humble roots. She grew up in a small coastal town called Hamilton Beach, known for its quaint shops, sunny boardwalk, and fishermen hauling in nets filled with silver-scaled catches. With her big brown eyes and compassionate heart, Elsa spent her girlhood volunteering at the local animal shelter and reading romance novels under the oak tree in her backyard. From a young age, she believed in fairy tales, where loyalty and kindness triumphed and love conquered all. William Harrington stormed into Elsa's life like a glamorous whirlwind, representing everything she had once only read about in those dog-eared romance novels. Born into a wealthy family, William had multiplied his inheritance through shrewd business deals. A charismatic real estate magnate, he was known throughout the city for his unstoppable ambition, lavish parties, and philanthropic galas. Tall, confident, and impeccably dressed, William dazzled Elsa the night they met at a charity ball. Elsa's once simple life took a dramatic turn. One minute, she was an elementary school teacher living on a modest salary. The next, she was swept into the limelight, riding in limousines and dining with celebrities. When William proposed with a 5-carat diamond ring under the shimmering moonlight on an exclusive Caribbean island, Elsa felt as though she was living in a dream. She happily said yes, her heart echoing the surf lapping at the shore. For a while, that dream felt real. Their wedding was a grand affair. Roses shipped from French gardens, crystal chandeliers, a string quartet, and all the society elites in attendance. They honeymooned in the Maldives, staying in an overwater villa, sleeping beneath star-strewn skies. William showered Elsa with gifts, designer handbags, diamond necklaces, and she blushed with gratitude, still half wondering if she'd stepped inside someone else's life. But within a year of their marriage, cracks began to appear in the polished facade. Late-night phone calls William dismissed with vague excuses, urgent business trips at odd hours, expensive receipts for unexplained purchases. At first, Elsa tried to ignore the warning signs, telling herself a successful businessman had big responsibilities. She attributed his absences to the demands of a global empire. Besides, when he was home, William acted charming and attentive, until he swiftly returned to texting on his phone or fielding calls from clients. It was a lonely existence for Elsa, who yearned for genuine closeness. She wanted the William she had fallen for, the one who had once serenaded her during a candlelit dinner, who whispered sweet confessions of love in the earliest hours of morning. Despite her misgivings, Elsa found a spark of joy when she discovered she was pregnant. She surprised William by leaving the ultrasound photos on his desk with a note that read, "Our next big adventure, baby Harrington." He reacted with a measured but polite enthusiasm, hugging her gently as he congratulated her. In that moment, Elsa hoped fatherhood might soften William's edges and reignite the bond they once shared. However, the pregnancy seemed to push him further away. With each day, Elsa felt William withdrawing. He evaded doctor's appointments, made excuses to stay late at the office, and once forgot to pick her up from a prenatal class, leaving her waiting in tears on the curb for nearly an hour. Rumors of William's infidelity stirred among the upper-crust circles long before Elsa dared to believe them. A hush would fall over dinner parties whenever someone mentioned Ariana Caldwell, an emerging socialite with swirling green eyes, raven black hair, and a confidence that bordered on arrogance. Some people whispered that William was financing Ariana's budding fashion line. Others claimed they'd seen the two dining by candlelight at a 5-star restaurant, cozy and intimately close. Elsa initially dismissed these rumors. She told herself society gossip was a malicious sport and had no place in her marriage. But one late afternoon, she visited William at his downtown headquarters unannounced, hoping to invite him to a prenatal ultrasound. As she approached his corner office, She saw through the glass walls. William and Ariana sitting side by side at his desk, their heads almost touching. Ariana threw her head back in laughter, placing a hand on William's shoulder like she belonged there. Elsa's stomach twisted in sudden dread. She swallowed, trying to muster courage. Summoning her politest smile, she rapped on the frosted door. Both looked up, Ariana's expression turning sharp, William's turning guarded. "Elsa," William said, standing to greet her. I wasn't expecting you." Elsa hugged her file of ultrasound images tightly against her chest. "I wanted to surprise you," she said softly. "We have our next appointment tomorrow, and I was hoping you'd join me." Ariana rose from the chair, not a trace of embarrassment on her flawless face. She offered a confident handshake. "I'm Ariana," she said. "Your husband has been so generous investing in my clothing brand. It's a pleasure to finally meet you." Her tone carried a subtle challenge. Elsa tried to remain composed as Ariana's manicured fingertips lingered on William's shoulder. Elsa forced a smile, but her heart hammered with the force of 1,000 questions. William swiftly escorted Ariana toward the door, explaining he'd be in touch about the next phase of the business plan. Then, with Ariana gone, he turned back to Elsa. "She's just a business partner," he reassured, though his voice shook ever so slightly. "You have nothing to worry about." But Elsa could not ignore the flicker of guilt in his eyes, or the way her own instincts shrieked that something was off. Weeks passed, and William's devotion to Ariana's business grew more obvious. He began skipping dinners at home. Elsa often saw Ariana's name flash across his phone. He explained Ariana's line required urgent attention, shipments were delayed, or new investors needed to be courted. The entire fiasco left Elsa lonely and anxious, especially as her pregnancy progressed into its third trimester. Late one night, Elsa was jolted awake by the sound of William's footsteps creeping through the front door. The clock read 2:17 a.m. She flicked on the bedside lamp just as he entered the bedroom. A swirl of perfume not her own clung to his clothes. "Where have you been?" Elsa asked, struggling to keep her voice steady. William removed his tie, avoiding eye contact. "Working," he said curtly. Elsa inhaled deeply, bracing herself. "Your shirt smells like perfume." He paused, then shrugged it off. "Ariana spilled some fragrance samples earlier, that's all." As Elsa's eyes welled with tears, William's expression hardened into annoyance. "Why are you crying now? Can't you see how hard I'm trying to keep our life running?" It was the first time he so openly dismissed her fears. It wouldn't be the last. He slipped into the bathroom, shutting the door behind him. Elsa spent the remainder of the night twisting in sheets dampened by tears, hugging her swollen belly, promising her unborn child that everything would be all right. Perhaps no heartbreak can match the one of a pregnant wife who witnesses her husband in the arms of another woman. Yet Elsa's heartbreak soared to unimaginable levels the day she saw William get down on one knee. It was a late autumn evening, with leaves turning gold and crimson across the Harrington Estate's vast grounds. William had invited some business associates to a lavish dinner party, possibly to celebrate Ariana's latest venture. Elsa, wearing a flowing maternity dress, tried to remain poised. She noticed Ariana's presence immediately, a sleek black gown hugging her hourglass figure, lips painted burgundy, laughter that rang through the corridors like a siren's call. Guests mingled between the grand foyer and the rose garden. Elsa, searching for William, paused when she heard a faint chorus of gasps from beyond the tall windows. Her heart hammered. She approached the glass, and her breath stopped. There, in the luminous glow of the garden's fairy lights, William was on one knee before Ariana Caldwell. A hush had fallen over the onlookers. Ariana's eyes brimmed with triumphant tears, her lips parted in delighted shock. No ring was yet visible, but William's posture told the entire story. Elsa felt every joint in her body go numb. The swell of her belly made it difficult to move. Nausea roiled in her stomach. Her chest felt squeezed by an invisible vice. A hand fluttered to her mouth, stifling a scream. As if in slow motion, Ariana reached out, resting her manicured hand on William's shoulder, listening intently to the words only they could hear. Elsa rushed forward, hands trembling so violently that she nearly stumbled. But before she could burst through the French doors, Ariana tilted her head back and nodded in acceptance. A smattering of claps erupted from the stunned guests. Ariana bent down, hugging William around the neck in a display of victory. Only then did William notice Elsa. Their eyes locked, an electric jolt of shame crossing William's face. But Ariana merely shot Elsa a cool, triumphant smile, as though claiming a long-coveted prize. Elsa collapsed onto a nearby marble bench, tears streaming uncontrollably. Murmurs rippled through the small crowd. In her mind, she replayed the memory of that moment. William kneeling at Ariana's feet, ignoring Elsa's pregnancy and the vows he'd once sworn. That night, Elsa locked herself in her bedroom. She refused to open the door, ignoring William's pleas from the hallway. The sounds of Ariana's mocking laughter drifted faintly from the rest of the house. The dinner party ended awkwardly, guests departing in a wave of tense whispers. Some hours later, the corridor grew quiet. Elsa let out a trembling sigh, thinking William had perhaps left to chase after Ariana. But then came a gentle tapping. "Elsa," William's voice said through the heavy oak, "please let me talk to you." She opened the door by a crack. His tie was undone, and guilt weighed heavily on his features. "I'm sorry," he began. "I never wanted you to find out like this. Ariana and I—" Elsa flung the door open, rage and heartbreak crossing her tear-streaked face. "You proposed to another woman, William. I'm carrying your child, for God's sake. How could you do this?" He stepped forward, arms outstretched in a placating gesture. "It's complicated. Ariana's brand is in trouble, and she needs security. It's an arrangement, mostly business. Elsa's voice turned to an incredulous shout. "Business? You were on one knee proposing marriage, William." He tried to pull her into his arms, but she tore away. The baby kicked, and Elsa winced. Her entire body shook. "Don't touch me," she managed, pressing a hand to her belly to calm the child. "You've humiliated me in front of everyone. I can't believe this is you. My husband, the father of my child." William's jaw tightened. For a moment, Elsa thought she saw something like regret flicker in his eyes, but it vanished as quickly as it came. "I've made a mistake," he mumbled, "but we can work this out. I'll make sure you're taken care of. Whatever you need, I'll provide. You and the baby will be financially secure." Elsa gaped at him, outraged that he thought money could mend the emotional catastrophe. "I don't give a damn about your money," she spat. "You betrayed me, and I will never, ever forget this." She slammed the door in his face. Collapsing against the hardwood, she sobbed, tears mingling with heartbreak and desperation. Days after the scandalous proposal, William left the estate for extended business meetings, presumably with Ariana, while Elsa wandered the empty hallways, drifting through a world of heartbreak. Her one respite came from her longtime friend Clara Wilson, a kind-hearted woman with curly red hair and a steel spine. Clara arrived at the Harrington estate on a chilly morning, wrapping Elsa in a warm hug. "I heard the rumors," Clara whispered, "and I came as soon as I could." Elsa felt a fresh wave of tears. She confided everything: William's suspicious behavior, the heartbreak of seeing him kneel before Ariana, the emptiness she now felt. Clara listened with quiet resolve, occasionally glaring as though William's face might appear for her to throttle. "What do I do?" Elsa asked, voice trembling. "I have no money of my own. I quit my job when we got married. William made me so dependent on him. And now, with the baby—" Clara's eyes shone with determination. "Elsa, you're stronger than you know," she said gently. "We'll find a way. He can't just throw you aside. You have rights, both legally and ethically." Elsa exhaled shakily, realizing she had no real understanding of their finances. William kept everything behind closed doors. She worried that if she left, she'd walk away with nothing, forced to raise a child alone. But staying felt equally impossible. "First things first," Clara suggested. "Talk to a lawyer, know your options. You need clarity. Even if you decide to stay, you should understand what you're entitled to." Elsa nodded. For the first time since the disastrous proposal, she felt a flicker of control returning to her life. The next week, with Clara's help, Elsa discreetly consulted a top family law attorney named Veronica McAllister. Veronica was sharp-eyed, impeccably dressed, and exuded confidence. She listened attentively as Elsa recounted the details of her marriage: William's wealth, the pregnancy, the humiliating affair, the public proposal to Ariana. "How do I protect myself and my child if William divorces me for Ariana?" Elsa asked, voice shaky. Veronica's gaze was stern. The courts don't look kindly on a husband's adultery when there's a pregnant wife involved, she said. And with his assets, you won't be left destitute. In fact, you could be entitled to a substantial settlement, child support, alimony, perhaps even part of his estate. Elsa's heart pounded. She'd never imagined prying open William's finances, but it appeared she might have to. Veronica continued, however, before we move forward, you need information. I advise that we quietly gather details about his holdings. Is your name on any titles, any corporate shares, anything that ties you legally to his assets? Elsa swallowed hard. I'm not sure, she confessed, feeling the weight of her naivety. That's what we need to find out, Veronica said. Later that night, Elsa, fortified by Veronica's advice, crept into William's study. The mahogany bookshelves smelled of polished leather and old paper. She'd avoided the room for months, respecting William's privacy. But now her trembling hands rifled through drawers, scanning files for something, anything, tying William's assets to her or revealing the truth about his business with Ariana. She found a small locked cabinet in the corner. After rummaging for keys, she discovered one hidden beneath the blotter on William's desk. Inside the cabinet, she uncovered documents that rattled her core. A deed to the Harrington estate listing William as the sole owner. Several accounts in offshore banks. Contracts linking William and Ariana's fashion line, complete with massive investments and obligations. Emails referencing a planned merger between William's primary holding company and an international conglomerate. Elsa's blood ran cold. She realized the scale of William's empire was even bigger than she'd imagined, and Ariana seemed intimately involved in deals that would bind her to William's finances for years to come. Crucially, Elsa found an older contract from just after their wedding. It contained a clause, a prenuptial agreement that Elsa barely remembered signing. She'd been starry-eyed, in love, and William had reassured her it was just a formality. Upon closer inspection, Elsa discovered the shocking truth. The agreement was heavily weighted in William's favor, leaving her with very little if the marriage ended within 5 years. She sank into William's leather chair, tears blurring her vision. How had she been so blind? As Elsa wrestled with these discoveries, Ariana capitalized on her newfound closeness to William. Society columns buzzed with rumors that Ariana Caldwell was poised to become the new Mrs. Harrington. Paparazzi snapped them stepping out of sleek cars, enjoying romantic dinners at exclusive restaurants, even traveling abroad together on William's private jet. News of William's pregnant wife rarely surfaced. Ariana's PR team spun the narrative to place Ariana in the limelight, subtly erasing Elsa from public consciousness. By the time Elsa was 8 months pregnant, she felt like a ghost in her own marriage. One afternoon, Ariana made an uninvited visit to the Harrington mansion. Elsa was in the garden, watering potted roses, when she heard the distinct purr of Ariana's sports car rolling up the driveway. Elsa's heart thundered. Ariana strutted across the cobblestones, exuding an aura of triumph. She glanced at Elsa's growing belly with barely disguised distaste. Then she produced an elegant envelope from her designer purse. "I came to deliver an invitation," Ariana said smoothly, her voice laced with irony. Elsa's face paled. "To what?" Ariana smirked. "William's launching a new line of investments in my brand. We're celebrating in style. I think it's time you realize that you're, well, no longer relevant." Elsa's grip tightened on the watering can. "You're telling me I'm not relevant in my own husband's life?" Ariana leaned in, voice dropping to a patronizing whisper. "It's only a matter of time before I'm the wife. You had your chance. Obviously, you couldn't keep him." Tears burned at the corners of Elsa's eyes, but she fought to remain composed. Instead of hurling back insults, she simply said, "Whatever arrangement you have with William doesn't change the fact that I'm carrying his child. You can pretend I don't exist, but you won't erase me that easily." Ariana offered a mocking little laugh, turned on her stiletto heels and sauntered back to her car, leaving a swirl of expensive perfume in her wake. The envelope fluttered to the ground at Elsa's feet, the gold-embossed seal glinting in the sun. Days later, Elsa's anxieties escalated when William hinted that he wanted her out of the estate. He couched it in polite terms. A suggestion she go relax somewhere less stressful, perhaps a beach cottage in the countryside, courtesy of his dime. But Elsa recognized the ruse. He wanted to move Ariana in while pushing Elsa out of sight. The thought of losing her home, despite the heartbreak that haunted its corridors, was unbearable. This was where she had once dreamed of raising her child, of building a family. Yet with each passing day, William's indifference hardened. Ariana's presence loomed larger, overshadowing Elsa at every turn. Then came a phone call that changed everything. One of William's major business partners, an influential investor named Thomas Rockwell, had apparently pulled out of a massive merger at the last minute. Panic rippled through William's circle. Rumors spread that William's fortune was at risk, with multiple projects teetering on the brink of collapse. A few nights later, William returned home looking deeply shaken. Elsa overheard him on the phone, pacing the study. "Find me an alternate backer, or this entire deal goes under," he snapped. "If Rockwell won't budge, we're in serious trouble." A flicker of uneasy satisfaction sparked in Elsa. She didn't want William to fail, especially since his finances also impacted her unborn child. But she couldn't deny the small sense of poetic justice. Perhaps his perfect empire wasn't as invincible as it seemed. When Veronica, Elsa's lawyer, heard about the unraveling merger, her eyes gleamed with opportunity. "This might be the leverage we need," she said. "If William's empire is on shaky ground, he'll be eager to salvage it. That could mean negotiations with Ariana are also unstable." Elsa frowned. "But how does that help me? I'm still bound by that cruel prenup." Veronica tapped a pen against her notepad. "Prenups can be challenged if it's proven they were signed under duress, or if there's evidence of fraud. The court can also modify spousal support if it deems the agreement unconscionable, especially when a child's welfare is involved." She paused, then added, "Also, we might discover that William made changes to his holdings. If he placed certain assets in a trust for you or your child, knowingly or not, that could significantly shift the balance of power." Elsa's pulse quickened. "I did notice references to trusts in those files. I couldn't make sense of them, but there's definitely more to William's financial structure than I realized." Veronica nodded. "Let's dig deeper. In the meantime, do nothing that suggests you're leaving. Stay put. For now, we gather information and see how the business meltdown affects William's plans." Elsa felt an unfamiliar twinge of resolve. For once, she might stand a chance in this twisted situation. William's troubles spiraled quickly. His once secure empire faced lawsuits from disgruntled investors. Media outlets that once celebrated him began publishing rumors of financial instability. Ariana, fearing the collapse of her own brand, demanded that William finalize their engagement and secure her future. One afternoon, Elsa was sitting on the terrace, sipping herbal tea, when she overheard loud voices coming from the rose garden. She inched closer, heart pounding, to see Ariana confronting William, her face a fierce mask. "You promised me security," Ariana hissed, jabbing a finger at him. "My brand can't survive if you go bankrupt. I need a ring on my finger now, or I'll walk, and I'll take my designs, my investors, and anything else I can drag with me." William's posture was rigid. "I'm handling it," he said through clenched teeth. "But these deals take time." "Why do you think I've been working day and night?" Ariana let out a sharp laugh. "Yes, so busy you haven't even divorced your pregnant wife. Or has that little detail slipped your mind?" Elsa bit her lip, her stomach fluttering. She could see the tension etched on William's face. Ariana was forcing a showdown. William grabbed Ariana's arm, lowering his voice so Elsa could hardly hear. "I'm finalizing some numbers and meeting with new investors next week. Once the money flows again, I'll handle Elsa. She has nowhere to go." Ariana pulled free. "I won't wait forever. Choose, me or the wife." She stormed away, leaving William silently fuming among the roses. Elsa slipped back into the house, her heart rattling. Part of her wanted to run, to shield her unborn baby from the chaos. But a more potent part insisted she stand her ground. No longer the meek wife overshadowed by betrayal. Time was running out, and Elsa's baby was due soon. Racing against both the pregnancy clock and William's impending meltdown, Veronica ramped up her investigation. She discovered that William had indeed established a trust after marriage, a trust that nominally listed Elsa as a beneficiary, but its conditions were vague. When Veronica's forensic accountant finally deciphered the legal jargon, a startling fact came to light. The trust was formed by William's late mother, Kathleen Harrington, who had insisted on safeguarding certain family assets for the legitimate heirs. In fact, the trust held controlling shares of William's main company, Harrington Enterprises. The trust's bylaws stated that if William ever violated specific moral clauses, like public infidelity, control of those shares could shift to the spouse or child. Elsa's pulse thrummed with excitement and dread. If William's affair with Ariana reached a public enough threshold, and certainly a scandalous public proposal might qualify, Elsa could become the primary beneficiary of the trust. "We need this validated by a judge," Veronica cautioned. "But if it's legitimate, you could gain voting rights in Harrington Enterprises, essentially control the company." Elsa stood stunned, tears brimming at the corners of her eyes. She had never asked for such power, but it might be the only way to protect herself and her baby. As if orchestrated by fate, events converged at a grand gala William hosted to reassure nervous investors. Ariana insisted on showcasing her new collection during the gala, and tabloids swarmed, hungry for drama. Word leaked that Elsa would also attend, her first public appearance since her husband's humiliating proposal to another woman. Arriving at the ballroom, Elsa felt her knees buckle with nerves. She wore a stunning emerald gown that accentuated her 8-month belly. Clara hovered at her side like a guardian angel. William, who had barely communicated with Elsa in days, was forced to escort her past the paparazzi. She kept her chin high, ignoring the cameras flashing in her face. Inside, beneath glittering chandeliers, influential financiers sipped champagne and snacked on delicate hors d'oeuvres. Ariana soon swept in, wearing a strapless red gown that drew every eye in the room. She commandeered the spotlight, launching into a dramatic presentation of her fashion line. The crowd applauded politely, though an undercurrent of tension rippled through the air. Everyone sensed Harrington Enterprises was in dire straits. Amidst the swirl of conversation, Elsa took a bold step. She approached Thomas Rockwell, the investor rumored to have pulled out of Williams' merger. He was a silver-haired gentleman with keen eyes and an aura of commanding presence. "Mr. Rockwell," Elsa said, mustering poise, "may I speak with you?" He regarded her curiously, perhaps expecting to see heartbreak or timidity. Instead, he met the warm but resolute gaze of a woman on a mission. "Certainly, Mrs. Harrington." They found a quiet corner. Elsa swallowed her apprehension. "I know William's finances are in trouble," she began, "and I know you withdrew your investment because you lost faith in his leadership. But before you close the door for good, please know that I'm reviewing certain legal structures that could change Harrington Enterprises significantly." Rockwell's eyebrows rose. "Oh, William hasn't mentioned this." "He doesn't know yet," Elsa admitted. "I discovered it recently. But let's just say if certain events are confirmed by a court, I might be in a position to stabilize the company's direction and ensure it returns to its core values. Ethics, philanthropy, prudent investments, not flashy gambles." Rockwell's expression shifted from skepticism to intrigue. "Are you suggesting you would take control?" Elsa's jaw tightened. "If it comes to that, yes." He stared at her for a long moment, perhaps evaluating the sincerity and strength behind her words. Finally, he nodded, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "I've always respected your late mother-in-law, Kathleen. If she set up a trust for the family legacy, she must have believed in doing what's right. Let me know how I can help." A flutter of hope shot through Elsa. She realized she had, in Rockwell, a potential ally. Halfway through the glittering evening, the grand ballroom pulsed with music and murmurs of speculative gossip. Guests clinked champagne flutes under the crystal chandeliers, while nervously eyeing William Harrington, whose company had recently been rocked by scandal and rumors of collapse. Still, the billionaire tried to maintain appearances, smiling stiffly, shaking hands, pretending as though nothing in his empire was crumbling. But the tension in the room was thick. Without warning, Ariana Caldwell took center stage. Clad in a strapless crimson gown that shimmered like fire, she strode up to the microphone with the ease of a seasoned actress. The crowd hushed. "Thank you all for coming," Ariana began, her voice oozing confidence. "Tonight is not just about fashion or investments. It's about love, partnership, and a shared future." Elsa froze where she stood, her breath catching. Ariana's eyes sparkled as she motioned toward William. And none of this would be possible without the man I love, my devoted fiancé, William Harrington. Gasps whispered through the crowd. Elsa stood a mere 20 feet away, visibly pregnant and flanked by her friend Clara. The absurdity of Ariana's announcement, declaring herself engaged while the legal wife, heavy with child, watched from across the room, hit like a punch to the gut. Unfazed, Ariana beckoned William to join her. Reluctantly, he walked to her side. His face was strained, his jaw tight. When he reached her, Ariana leaned in, resting her hand lightly on his chest. I want to thank William for believing in me, for investing in my dream, and for choosing me as his partner, in business and in life, she declared. Murmurs turned to audible outrage. Isn't his wife still pregnant? Someone whispered. Is this really happening? William cleared his throat, attempting to salvage the moment. Ariana Caldwell's designs represent the bold future Harrington Enterprises aims to support, he mumbled. We look forward to many more successful collaborations. He raised his champagne glass as if to toast. But before he could speak another word, a deep, thunderous voice cut through the ballroom like a blade. William Harrington! The crowd parted as Martin Greaves, one of the longest-standing executives at Harrington Enterprises, stormed forward. His silver hair was tousled, his face flushed with fury. Do you have any idea what you've done? He barked. The media is tearing you apart. Every outlet is running headlines about your adulterous proposal. Your mistress standing next to you while your pregnant wife is here in this room. Investors are panicking. The stock has dropped 15% in the last hour. Gas turned to stunned silence. Glasses stilled midair. All eyes turned to William, who stood frozen, shame written plainly across his face. Ariana blinked, her expression faltering for the first time. Greaves wasn't finished. You've single-handedly destroyed decades of trust and reputation. Harrington Enterprises is in free fall, and you've become a liability. He turned and strode out, shoving aside a reporter with a flashing camera. The room erupted into chaos. Journalists rushed forward with microphones. Mr. Harrington, how do you respond to the allegations? Is your wife divorcing you? Will Ariana Caldwell be removed from your fashion board? William raised a hand to block the flashes. Ariana looked around, stricken, suddenly unsure of her place on the stage she had so confidently claimed. And Elsa? She remained silent at the edge of the room, her hand resting protectively on her belly. Her green gown shimmered in the low light. Her posture was calm, unshaken. Though her heart beat wildly, her face betrayed no emotion, only the quiet strength of a woman who had endured betrayal and refused to let it define her. Clara leaned in and whispered, That, my dear, is karma, served in full view. Elsa nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving William and Ariana. She felt no need to scream, to fight, or to flee. The truth had done the work for her, and now the power was quietly shifting into her hands. In the aftermath of the gala's public scandal, William and Ariana scrambled to salvage their reputations. But the tide had turned. Banks called in loans. Ariana's brand partners balked at the negative press, threatening to pull their designs from shelves. William's attempts to placate the board of Harrington Enterprises fell on deaf ears. Behind the scenes, Elsa and Veronica moved swiftly. They filed an emergency petition to the family court, presenting evidence of William's public infidelity and referencing the trust's moral clause. It was a bold maneuver, but necessary. Elsa aimed to protect the unborn baby's financial security before William and Ariana's chaotic downfall dragged everything into ruin. On a cold morning, Elsa received a call from Veronica. I have good news, the lawyer said. The judge has granted an injunction preventing William from liquidating or transferring assets related to the trust. We have a preliminary hearing in 2 weeks, and given the public spectacle, it won't be hard to prove he violated the moral clause. Elsa's breath caught in her throat. What does that mean for me and the baby? Veronica allowed herself a rare smile. It means the shares of Harrington Enterprises, currently tied to that trust, could shift under your control. You would effectively own a controlling interest in the company. Tears slipped down Elsa's cheeks. I never wanted this, she said in a shaky whisper. I only wanted a faithful husband, a happy home for my child. Veronica's tone softened. I know, But sometimes life forces us into battles we never asked for. At least now you have the upper hand to protect yourself and your child. A week before the hearing, Ariana appeared at the Harrington estate unannounced once again. This time she wore sunglasses to hide her puffy eyes, a gloom in her expression. Elsa, feeling a wave of triumph and pity, allowed Ariana to enter the foyer. "Where's William?" Elsa asked icily. Ariana removed her sunglasses. Her once flawless complexion was drawn and pale, stress showing in dark circles under her eyes. "He's holed up somewhere in downtown, trying to keep the company from total collapse," she said bitterly. "And your legal moves, well done. Everyone's talking about how the wronged wife is about to seize control of Harrington Enterprises. Never thought you had it in you." Elsa stared at the woman who had wreaked havoc in her marriage. Ariana let out a trembling sigh. "Look, we can hate each other all we want, but can we talk?" Elsa hesitated. Then she gestured Ariana into the drawing room. They sat across from each other, the tension in the air thick. Ariana's voice trembled with forced calm. "You know that if you take control, William will be finished. And if he's finished, so am I." Elsa's gaze hardened. "I'm aware." Ariana twisted her hands anxiously. "And you're okay with that? He's the father of your child. If you ruin him, what will that do to your baby's future?" Elsa inhaled, a surge of protective anger coursing through her. "What about my future, Ariana? What about the night you flaunted his ring before my eyes, while I was pregnant with his child? Did you worry then about the baby's future?" Ariana looked away, silent for a moment. Then she said in a low voice, "I love him. Or at least, I thought I did. But now it's all about blame and resentment. He can't fix this, Elsa. He's spiraling." Elsa tightened her jaw, refusing to show pity for the woman who had taken so much from her. But she also recognized Ariana's words rang with a desperate truth. "I'm not out to destroy William," Elsa said softly. "I'm protecting my child. If you or William have a better plan, I'm listening. But I won't let him, either of you, dictate my fate anymore." Ariana rose, tears in her eyes. She nodded wordlessly, then left as swiftly as she had come. The day of the court hearing dawned with gray skies. Elsa arrived, her belly a proud testament to her imminent motherhood. William was already there, looking haggard, unshaven, and exhausted. Ariana sat behind him, anxiously wringing her hands. Before the proceeding began, William approached Elsa. His voice was raw. "Elsa, we need to talk." She eyed him warily, recalling the day he'd proposed to Ariana in the garden. "About?" He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "All of this. I messed up. I let Ariana and my ambition get the better of me." His gaze dropped to her belly. "I was so blinded by my deals I forgot what truly mattered. I never wanted to lose you or the baby." Elsa's heart clenched with conflicting emotions. Anger warred with the faint echoes of the love she once felt. "You've already lost me, William," she said quietly. "Now I'm making sure you don't take me down with you." Inside the courtroom, Veronica presented the case, brandishing paparazzi photos of William kneeling before Ariana, articles detailing the affair, social media posts from the gala, and the trust's moral clause. She argued that William's public actions had triggered the clause, transferring control of the trust's shares to Elsa for the sake of the legitimate heir, her unborn child. William's attorney tried to downplay the affair as a misunderstanding, an exaggerated scandal, but the judge didn't buy it. The evidence was too damning, too public. After a tense hour of deliberation, the judge ruled in Elsa's favor, on a temporary basis, at least, pending full trial. That meant Elsa effectively controlled the voting rights to Harrington Enterprises. A hush fell over the courtroom. Ariana looked stunned, tears glistening in her eyes. William slumped in defeat, burying his face in his hands. With a final bang of the gavel, Elsa's new reality set in. She owned them both. William, in a sense, because she now had the authority to make decisions that could salvage or destroy his empire. Ariana, because her brand's funding depended on the Harrington coffers. Outside the courthouse, reporters hounded Elsa with questions. "How does it feel to take over your husband's empire? Are you divorcing him? Will you fire Ariana Caldwell from the fashion line?" Elsa held her head high and spoke calmly. "My priority is my child. I will act in the best interest of my family and Harrington Enterprises employees. Beyond that, I have no further comment. Later that day, she convened an emergency board meeting at Harrington Enterprises. Executives who once sidestepped her now treated her with cautious respect. Thomas Rockwell joined via conference call, voicing support for her new leadership. Elsa proposed a stabilization plan, halting risky investments and focusing on sustainable growth. She invited William to speak, but he sat silently at the end of the table, eyes downcast. At the meeting's conclusion, Ariana tried to corner Elsa. "I hope you won't shut down my brand," Ariana said, an unsteady edge in her voice. Elsa regarded her with measured composure. "I'll consider each project's merits," she said. "No more personal favoritism." Ariana's cheeks reddened. She parted her lips to respond but then turned away, her expression oscillating between anger and desperation. That evening, Elsa took a quiet walk through the estate's gardens, the same place where she'd once seen William kneel to Ariana. The chill autumn air carried the scent of fallen leaves and regret. At last, she felt a sense of power. She was no longer the helpless wife. Yet her heart was heavy. She never wanted any of this tragedy, nor the cruelty it wrought. 2 weeks later, Elsa went into labor, earlier than expected. Clara rushed her to the hospital. William, upon hearing the news, abandoned a frantic attempt to salvage another deal and raced to be by her side. Ariana was conspicuously absent. In a stark white hospital room, Elsa endured intense contractions, tears sliding down her face. Fear and excitement mingled in her heart. She was about to become a mother. During a brief lull, William entered, eyes damp with genuine concern. "Elsa," he whispered, taking her hand, "please let me stay. I may have failed you, but I want to be here for the baby's birth." Elsa locked eyes with him, searching for sincerity. She found a glimmer of the man she'd fallen in love with so long ago. Finally, she gave a small nod. "Okay." Labor was brutal, but Elsa clung to her inner strength. Hours later, she delivered a beautiful baby girl with a loud, healthy cry. The moment Elsa held her daughter to her chest, everything else in the world fell away. William's betrayal, Ariana's presence, the chaos of corporate battles. All that mattered was this delicate new life, pink and squirming against her heart. When William cradled their infant in trembling arms, tears streamed down his cheeks. "She's perfect," he whispered, voice cracking. "Thank you." A single tear slid down Elsa's face. She said nothing, but inside she hoped that for this little girl's sake, some measure of peace might be found. In the weeks that followed, Elsa's postpartum recovery coincided with a dramatic shift of power in the Harrington household. She continued to exercise her authority as trustee and controlling shareholder. William, desperate for redemption, offered to help her in any way possible. Ariana hung in the background, uncertain of her future. Elsa made swift reforms at Harrington Enterprises, aligning with ethical standards and philanthropic goals. The public saw her as a modern Cinderella, once scorned but now a formidable leader, and a devoted mother. Journalists lauded her business sense and moral compass, boosting the company's reputation. Investors like Thomas Rockwell rallied behind her, and the stock began a cautious climb. William, under Elsa's supervision, was allowed to manage day-to-day operations. He had no choice but to accept her oversight, effectively working for his wife. Ariana's brand was placed under scrutiny, and after a thorough audit, Elsa decided to maintain partial funding, on one condition. Ariana no longer had free rein. She reported to a team that Elsa chose. In a private conversation, Ariana confronted Elsa, her bravado shattered. "You said no personal favoritism, so you're letting me stay on, but now I serve at your discretion?" Elsa nodded calmly. "I'm honoring the contracts we have, but you won't manipulate or blackmail anyone anymore. If you want your brand to succeed, it'll succeed because of hard work and sound business, not because you're sleeping with the boss." Ariana's lips quivered. She had no snarky comeback left, only a hollow stare. "I guess you win," she muttered, turning away. But Elsa didn't feel triumphant. She was simply doing what needed to be done. William's attempts at reconciliation were gentle, almost penitent. He came home every day in time to help with the baby's feedings, apologized without making excuses, and refrained from pressuring Elsa to resume any semblance of romance. He slept in a separate bedroom, respecting her boundaries. Watching him dote on their daughter both warmed and tore at Elsa's heart. She loved seeing him as a father, but trust was not easily repaired. "I can't promise you anything," she told him one night as he rocked the baby to sleep. "I'm still hurt, and I won't pretend we can snap back to what we were." He nodded, tears shimmering in his eyes. "I understand. I'll do whatever it takes to earn a shred of forgiveness, even if it's impossible." Elsa exhaled a shaky breath. She wasn't sure if forgiveness was possible. For now, she focused on her own healing and the future of her newborn child. As the months rolled by, the public forgot the scandal's sharper edges, dazzled by Elsa's triumph. Ariana struggled to regain her former glory. Her brand, while funded, had lost much of its luster in the press. She was recognized mostly as the other woman who tried to steal a married man and lost. Despite having partial sponsorship, she found that with Elsa at the helm, there was no easy path to quick riches. She actually had to work. William, stripped of his once untouchable status, now understood what it was like to be accountable. He faced daily reminders that he wasn't the king of his castle anymore. Board meetings required Elsa's approval. His personal finances were under watchful eyes. And each morning he woke up knowing he could be replaced at any time if Elsa so decided. For Elsa, the biggest victory was not in humiliating William or Ariana. It was in regaining her sense of self. She discovered a profound strength she never knew she had. No longer overshadowed by illusions, she stood firm for her daughter's sake. One crisp morning, as Elsa cradled her infant by the living room window, she watched the sunrise paint the sky in gold and pink. Clara visited, offering a radiant smile. "You look at peace," she remarked, "like you've finally found solid ground." Elsa nodded, pressing a soft kiss to her daughter's forehead. "I used to feel powerless, but life forced me to stand up, to protect myself and my baby. Now I know what I'm capable of." Clara squeezed her hand. "So, do you plan to forgive William or let him go?" Elsa gazed out at the horizon. "That chapter isn't written yet. For now, I have what I need. My baby is healthy. I'm in control of my life. Maybe in time, I'll decide whether love can survive betrayal. But there's no rush." She reflected on the dramatic journey, how heartbreak had led to empowerment, how betrayal had revealed hidden strengths. In the end, it was a testament to the boundless resilience of a woman done wrong, who found a way to rise. And that is how Elsa Harrington, the pregnant wife who once cried on the sidelines, came to own them both, her millionaire husband and his scheming mistress, turning a story of betrayal into one of unshakable fortitude and poetic justice. Thank you for joining us on this turbulent and twist-filled ride through Elsa Harrington's heartbreaking betrayal and triumphant rise. Her story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, when everything we cherish seems lost, we can find hidden reserves of strength and courage. Betrayal doesn't have to break us. Sometimes it's the spark that ignites our own empowering transformation. If this tale of love, deceit, and redemption resonated with you, don't forget to support our channel. By liking this video, sharing it with friends, and subscribing to our channel, you help us continue bringing more dramatic and inspiring stories to your screen. Your engagement means the world to us, and it fuels our mission to share narratives that uplift, challenge, and entertain. So hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and remember, strength can blossom from the harshest storms.